Call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners, June 3rd. I'm like, wait a second.
Sorry,
It would be June 3rd.
sorry. Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright.
Yeah. Changes to the agenda tonight.
Commissioners, item number 2 on your agenda for the Swim and Racket Center pool resurfacing design. We'd like to take that off tonight's agenda and move it to the next meeting agenda just to work on that timeline that was in the proposal and get a few more details added into that work order.
Is that all right with everybody? Okay, public requests.
Afternoon, everybody. Tom Thayer here, 4821 North Dixie Highway, Boca Raton, Florida. And we're back in our normal schedule here, the day before our Homeowners Federation meeting at the Downtown Community Center. So come on out. Our speaker tomorrow is Councilmember Mark Widger, and he's going to talk about last week's strategic planning session that most of us failed to attend. So it should be an interesting program, and come out. Everything is free, admission, refreshments. The building opens at 8 o'clock for us. The program starts promptly at 8:30. It'll be over promptly at 9:30. And come out and say hello. Any questions? Thank you.
Sil Ciliberti, 6200 Northwest 2nd Avenue, Boca Raton. Hello, commissioners and support staff. I would like to thank you guys for the continuation work that you're doing towards North Park. And as today is the further development discussion, I just wanted to perhaps throw into the mix let's say the private planes that cross from Boca Raton Airport, right, and they zip to the ocean. They kind of zip right past the North Park. What would appear to be like two giant French fries. They're brown because they're no longer green. But how the shapes are east and west. They run pretty much east and west. And in the Sunshine State, how it would be a shame if we could not incorporate some solar panel technology to at least support some of these extra, all these facilities that we're going to have at North Park. Today we have, there's power walls by Tesla. There's enormous advances in solar power, and we are in the Sunshine State, and North Park is pretty much all east and all west, where the sun rises and sets, where we could get a maximum amount of energy, free energy. And it would also make, I think, a great example throughout the country if we could also just incorporate some of the resources that we have at our fingertips. The French fries also abut 95 and the train on each side, and therefore perhaps a sound barrier, a green wall where green actually grows on the sound barrier would also be a great possibility. As we're in the development stages, I know that sometimes we brought some of these things up and there's always budget concerns, but perhaps there's also some incentives out there by the government. I'm not sure, but hopefully somebody could look into at least a couple of these possibilities as we research the development. And great job so far. Thank you.
Anybody else? Nope. Okay, closing public requests, and we'll do approval of the minutes of the previous board meeting held on May 20th.
Okay, roll call. Commissioner Ernst, Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to regular business. First one is the ranking of architect engineer proposals.
Commissioners, page 5 of your agenda packets is a summary of the ranking matrix that I sent out last week. Maybe the week prior. We ranked and also called references. So the top 3 firms we would recommend that we write agreements and bring that back to the next meeting for you all to approve would be with Spark Design, Miller Lake, and KCI Technologies. By getting 3 firms on board, that adds to our current CGA and WZA to make sure we have enough firms available for all the upcoming projects and work, including things like roof designs, air conditioner replacements, and a number of just upkeep items that we're going to need some assistance with in the coming years. So the recommendation was to just award to the top 3 firms that were ranked. Again, Spark Design was number 1, Miller Lake number 2, and KCI Technologies is number 3. So we would need a motion to adopt the ranking and then a second motion for us to work on agreements with these 3 firms.
Move we adopt the ranking as put forward in this memo.
Commissioner Ernst?
I have just a question for Brianne. Will one of these firms also be specialized enough to handle the pool? Okay. Yep. So yes.
So Commissioner Ernst was a yes. Commissioner Engel? Commissioner Rollins? Commissioner Vogelsang? Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Motion passes.
As if it would make anybody feel better, I did some research through the industry, and all 3 of these, of course, we know Miller Lake is just top notch too, but all the other 2 that we're ranking are highly respected in the industry. So I feel really comfortable with this ranking.
To negotiate.
Agreements with them to bring back.
Move to start negotiations with the recommended consultants.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Ernst? Commissioner Rollins?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang? Commissioner Wright? Motion passes.
Okay, and number 2 is being moved. Number 3, North Park Development discussion.
Commissioners, page 15 of your agenda packets is a memo that I put together kind of outlining, as Mr. Thayer mentioned, there was the city strategic planning sessions last week. There was a lot of dialogue about recreation in the city and the different moving parts going on between the downtown campus master plan, phase 2 of DeHornley, North Park, and a number of recreational needs that need to be addressed. And as Mr. Stevens mentioned in the meeting, it would be really important for us to all work together to be on the same page. So I said, let's rip the Band-Aid off here and start talking about working with the city on North Park. And I just wanted to get some direction from you all, if staff-wise, I can start having those conversations with Greg about what they need, where they can put it, and opportunities to work on the west side of North Park, work on DeHornley phase 2, and making sure we have recreational needs that we lose in other places covered in some of these other developments. So I just wanted to open up the conversation tonight and get some direction from you all cohesively.
First, I have a question. Did Greg give you a list or give you an idea of the city's priorities?
Greg and I have had a number of conversations. There are a number of recreational amenities downtown that will be impacted by the downtown campus master plan. There's been talk about the skate park. There's softball fields downtown. So there's a number of things there. There's the parcel off of 18th that Commissioner Ernst brought up at the last meeting. There's a need for the rugby fields. There's a need for more rectangular fields at DeHornley should we lose FAU. So overall, Greg and I have had a lot of talks about the needs for different recreational amenities, but some of these things may not be on the needs assessment because we currently have those needs met. But if those go away, where do we put them? And the idea is that we need sort of a master plan because we're running out of parks and places to put them. And North Park is a big piece of property, DeHornley Park Phase 2, and that little property that Craig mentioned on 18th. Those are some of the last places that we'll have to put these recreational amenities. And we want to make sure that we are continue to meet the needs that we are meeting now, and then the future developments as well. So working together is probably more imperative than it's ever been. And the district historically has worked with the city to meet needs. I mean, we developed Dornley Park with the city. So I guess getting back to that and really working together on things and making sure that as we develop the west side of North Park, if there's things that they are going to be losing that can be placed over there, or things that we wanted to put somewhere could be placed in one of their parks, or, just making sure we're all on the same page so that we continue meeting the needs right now and meeting the needs of the next generation too.
I think it'd be a great idea to finally sit down with the city and put us both on the same page. So we're working toward the same goals. At the same time, I also think that um, having access to the city's working capital or for capital projects on the west side would also be a boon, because regardless of what we do over there, whether it's golf or anything else, if we do it, that's a lot of money. And we're already pretty stretched. So if we can reach a meeting of the minds and say, get a driving range and a 9-hole golf course, maybe a couple of softball fields, maybe another field house, things that will fit on that property, and have us apply the expertise and the city apply the dollars. I think that's a win-win for everybody.
Well, a couple thoughts. Number one is we're a taxing authority, so we have money. And I think we should fund projects that benefit the community, because I don't think the community always understands the difference between the district and the city. And they really don't need to. If they're enjoying a park, that's a good thing. And so my number one concern remains a failure or a lack of deadlines to get things done. And it's not our fault. It's no one's fault, but it doesn't get done because there's no deadline. In business, you have a deadline, whether it's a calendar year or whatever it is, there's a deadline, and people move things to make it happen. But here we always encounter, okay, great project, great concept. We start it, we give it to the planners, they come back with something. And then we get, a lot of people from the city who say, maybe, maybe not, here's some other ideas, change it, do this, do that. And it goes round and round and round. And then there's another set of eyes from a community development board. There's other things. I hope that, from a city perspective, we could all do things. They got smart people at the city, and I think they're becoming more empowered. I would like to see them give us their best ideas, get things done, figure out a way to get things done faster. And it's really at the city, because everything comes back to, why does it take so long? Whether it's a fence or whether it's this or that, it just takes an inordinate amount of time. For some things, it just seemed reasonable. And when we're hiring all professionals, and I don't really care whether the city hires or we hire it, I think we want to focus on getting things done in our lifetime. And to do that, we have to have a sense of urgency. And the longer we wait, the more expensive it gets. So I'm all in on develop the plan, work with the city. Brianne, I have the utmost confidence of you and the team from the city to kind of develop that, but try to solve the problem of how do we move these things a little faster? And I really don't like as you know, the last callback to say we're going to measure a tree to determine what's late out there at Patch Reef. I think that's just unacceptable. That's something that's just wasted taxpayer money, and it's not something that we should be doing. And they should be doing everything they can to open that park by the end of the summer, like we all talked about at the last joint meeting. And I don't see that happening at this point. And I think someone needs to be held accountable for it.
Well, a lot of truth in what Craig says, and I think that as a district, recreation is our business, and I think we do very good with that. And when we run into these permitting and the other obstacles that Craig alluded to that slows the projects down, the question that you're asking is about engaging with the city to develop recreation. Are you talking about my preference would be for you and Greg to coordinate that rather than us sitting around over on Congress and having a discussion, because that just doesn't go anywhere. Uh, But if you guys, my feeling is that the two of you know what each body wants to do recreationally. We need to know what our needs are, of course, which is the other thing. And hopefully we can project into the future. But I mean, in some cases, we never had an idea that lacrosse was so big years ago that we did what we did over at Patch Reef, which is a splendid project now, not only for lacrosse, but for all other rectangular sports. But whoever thought that pickleball would be what it is today? So, I mean, in doing the build out of our facilities, we need to look forward as far as we can so that we do take care of those things. And there's always a possibility of converting some existing facility to something else if the demand was greater. But I think in addition to you and Greg coming up with a list of things, you know, we need to know what also are immediate, you know, short-term, immediate and long-term type things that we can kind of put a pencil to it. And like Greg says, you know, get some support from the city. I I think and Steve brought up, and you mentioned the fact that, you know, with the city developing a new city hall master plan down there, tennis courts are going to be relocated. The skateboard facility is going to probably be relocated. And I think it's only reasonable to expect that we could get some financial support from the city, since it's all recreation. And I agree with Craig that people don't know the difference between the district and the city. But I think since the city is moving some of their moving some of the recreational needs away from downtown, that we need to have some capital support from them in the way of either forgiveness of debt that we have, or an agreement to help us fund some of the projects if we want to do those because of our limited capacity to do things. I mean, we've projectedly maybe tied up on the east side for some time with our capital and if we're going to do things on the west side, the fastest means to do that is to have some financial support from the city, you know. And we've talked about the benefit that the city had from the sale of Boca Municipal, and we've asked for some recreational dollars from that. And I think that we ought to keep that in mind when you're talking to Greg about what's the possibility of them helping us out. You know, I'm not saying 50-50. I'm not saying, you know, what percentage, but I do think that they should be considerate of the fact that they're pushing some of the recreational needs that they're now supporting off to us, which I'm happy to do. But there's only so many dollars that's to go around. So to answer your question, yeah, I support you getting involved with the city. I don't know. I'm not much sure about a recreational master plan unless it's better than the one that we had before. But I think that you're on the right track by suggesting that we collaborate with the city. And, you know, Craig's been suggesting that for a long time. And I'm coming around to the idea that it might be good for us to do.
Okay. The idea was, just so everybody is aware, it would be Greg and I working together on it, and then kind of like he talks to his people and I talk to my people, which is you all, and then we kind of get to where we're all getting the needs met, and then we can put a plan together to present, and everybody should feel comfortable with it, hopefully. But the idea tonight was to make sure everybody's comfortable talking to the city and working together on this before we move forward with doing anything else on the west side of North Park. Which
They said, I totally want to see you collaborate with the city. And I think that we have such an improved situation that it's going to go in the right direction. I would like to make a suggestion. You and Greg take a field trip up to the park in West Palm and look at the golf facility that is so family friendly and so inclusive of so many different age groups. because the cities, there are some people on city council who don't think that that would be a necessary amenity. I think it would be a great enhancement to North Park. I really like the idea of us doing things in a joint meeting after we have assessed what is necessary, because it will make the public a lot happier to see us all smiling at each other, and I think that's important. I really think that we're going to go and get some great things happening, but we trust you and we trust Greg, and I'm happy to have you do that.
With everything that everybody said, only thing, Craig, I do think that it's always known that the city has issues with their processes in terms of permitting. People on city council have had complaints for years, developers. I don't think it's going to change in the near future. I think the only thing that they can do is kind of look at us a little differently, versus like a normal developer maybe, which I think they've done a little bit here and there. But I think they have their processes and they have kind of like their checklists, and they do that for all projects. And I don't think their process is going to change until they make a concerted effort to change. So their staff is told what to do and they do what they're supposed to do, no matter what project it is, right? So, but I think they're kind of adjusting a little bit to the fact that we're doing these projects, and maybe work with us a little bit on those. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea for her to go and talk to the city. So, do you need a motion?
I don't need a motion because I feel like I have the direction I need, but
Yeah.
just to add, there are, like, the city's recreation, when they've developed some of their parks, like even the Gopher Tortoise Preserve and stuff, they've met, and even at Gumbo Limbo, we had to come back and get a tree removed. If you all remember, we had a change order for that project because that came later in the comments from city staff. So, but the city's strategic planning sessions, that's like a mouthful to say. They did talk about processes, and they talked about the changes with the new city manager and how staff is getting empowered. And I think that overall they all want to see improvement in how things are procured, how they can procure things quicker, and they're getting a lot of those things evaluated. So I think they're looking at all that and trying to make improvements, but certainly that's something I agree with you, Commissioner Ernst, that we have to work on it with the city, but they have been making improvements for us as we go through our projects. We are definitely feeling less like they're, in the past it was always like you're just like a developer, but we're not, because it's taxpayer dollars. So there's been a shift in that, and I have to say it's been a different experience working with the city to get things moving. I know it's still slow, but it's better than it was. I know it's not where we want it to be, but it is getting better.
With what you're saying. And I hate to be the squeaky wheel on the thing, but if we don't demand some level of change, we're it. Us and the city, elected are it. And I think that's behooves us to help make that change. Love for it to be gentle, but if it needs a deadline, put a deadline on it. I just don't understand why it takes so long on some of these things. If there's a simple pathway in Ocean Strand, to me, was ridiculous. There's nothing that is earth-shattering science about putting a pathway from point A to point B, and that's what we experienced. So I'm just going off of what I experienced over this 8-year cycle almost, and saying, gosh, that doesn't make sense. And so that's the past, and maybe the future is a pathway could take a year. I think that's a reasonable thing, but maybe not, because we can't do that, no matter how many resources we have on it. There's something just amiss, and I think that behooves them to work with it. But it's to all of our benefit, the whole community's benefit, to speed these things along a little bit, particularly when you got third-party contractors doing the work. So there's just no reason for some of those things.
Okay. All right. Approval of payroll and invoices.
I'm Chair, I'd like to make a motion for approval of payroll and invoices of $1,486,156.62.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Ernst, Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, reports and discussion items. Brian?
Just a few things. I had the opportunity to meet with the city's communications director and their special events director. Talk about the city is going to be 100 next year. We turned 50 this year. The city's 100 next year. So they're starting their planning for the city centennial. And one of the things, if you look on the city's website, they've launched the Ode to Boca poem. So it's a poem by your zip code, and you can type up your poem and enter it online. And so if your zip code is 33432, then the lines to your poem is going to be a three words, 3 words, 4 words, 3 words, 2 words. It's really cool. And the idea is that they'll get these poems now and start collecting them. And then it's run through a database. So it actually gives the city an opportunity to see keywords from the residents that they talk about, like that they're proud of in their city. And then poems, some of those poems will be selected to be included in public art projects and collaborations with community partners and different placemaking initiatives. So they've started that. They have a lot of big plans for next year. So I'll keep updating you all as I hear about it, but the city also has a website page started on their website. The Sugar Sand Park roof replacement is almost done. They're working on a punch list. There's some pavers outside of the theater area that have to be fixed. So that repair work has to be scheduled around the theater schedule and the camp schedule. So we're working on that. And they're just making some final things. And then we have the city inspections to schedule for that as well. The DeHornley Maintenance Building, I drive by it frequently on my way home. The roof is complete. Drywall is being installed. The parking lot subgrade is going on and the windows are being installed as well on the facility. In your folders tonight, there's a letter from the CRA seeking input on their upcoming budget from us, so we can put that on the agenda, but I put the letters in everybody's folders tonight. We just got the letter today. It's gonna come in the mail tomorrow. It was dated for tomorrow, but we'll get your ideas. We can talk about that at the next meeting, or you can email me things as you think of them so we can get them to the city by their deadline. And then my last item is just talking about security in our parks. It's been a big initiative of this board. Commissioner Ernst brought it up this year. We put big improvements at Sugar Sand Park, but I had a catalytic converter taken off my car on Monday. And so we actually at the swim center don't have a plate reader. So we want to move forward. I just want to get some direction from the board if we can move forward on getting that installed. And then also the park ranger schedule was I'll say messy at best that day, and it's a little conflicting from what I'm getting. So working on making sure we have rangers stationed at our busy parks appropriately during holiday hours, which was not happening this past Monday. So that's just an update on that. And I think we need to, as we work on our CIP next year, make sure we have cameras and plate readers and continue pushing all those security initiatives in our parks. But ranger presence is a big part of that as well. So that's my update for the night.
District Council.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one quick item, a quick update on the concession agreement. Commissioners, a week ago today, we received an updated draft from Mr. Butter's legal team, Bill Mason. On Friday of last week, Sam and I had a conversation with Brianne to review their most recent changes. We have a call set with Mr. Butters and his team. It's a Zoom meeting on Wednesday morning at 9:30. I'm hopeful that at that time we'll be able to wrap up any final open issues. There are a couple things we're still working through, but we're still kind of moving forward, heading in the direction of getting a final document for you all to review in the very near future. That's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, commissioners. Susie, first.
How do we stand on the Ocean Strand legal issue?
Well, we still are working it through with Chris Stearns, who's our insurance defense counsel, who's handling the matter. We've served the Mr. Morley, JJ Morley. We've received a copy of his answer and affirmative defenses. There is some discovery in the context of just the judicial process, and we're working through that process with our special counsel. If there is any substantive update, I can give you an update at the next meeting. But as of now, we're in the discovery phase where both parties are exchanging records, information, documents, etc. At some point, will likely be sent by the court to mediation, but we are slowly plodding through that process.
Thanks. I agree with Brianne about the security over here. I think that was just a big mistake on somebody's part. Chuck, thank you again for another wonderful social media article. You did a great job. And this morning in the Sun Sentinel on the front page was an article about the dedication of the tower. And it was a really nice article, and I'm looking forward to seeing that on Sunday.
There was mentioned to me by a pickleball aficionado about a covered pickleball court out off of in the county park out west of on Palmetto Park Road. Melissa, have you heard about that? Yeah, it's supposed to be built really well and might be something that you might want to take a look at. I guess it's west on Palmetto Park Road in the park just west of 441.
Is that out at Loggers Run? Because they used to have a
No,
covered
it
skate
was,
park.
I don't think it was Loggers Run. I think there's another park out there that's just west of it. I've been there once before for from soccer. It's a county park. It's not Loggers. No, no. Yeah, I'll get the exact name of the park for you, but it's something that bears looking at. Yeah, I think it is. You're right, Steve. Yeah, Bert Aronson Park. Is that South County? Okay. I don't know whether that's the park or not, but it's there's apparently a covered facility out there now that is designed very well. And I'll get the name of the park so that in the future, Melissa can run out there and take a look at it. And I was delighted to see this letter from George Brown from the downtown redevelopment. That's one of the things we brought up in our last meeting with the city council that they had not been doing, asking us for our input, which and I think that we have a lot of reason to be encouraged about our working with the city. I think that we've got certainly an improved relationship, and I'm hoping that that bears fruit for us mutually. Yeah, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Yep.
Mystic on the security front. Whatever you need, spare no expense.
The only thing I have to add on the security front is if we get plate readers, get them on the entrance and the exits. I learned through my own very hard experience that if people are intent on stealing something or from someone, they're not going to play by the same rules we will. So for each of our parks, plate readers on entrance and exit.
I have nothing tonight, so.
Move to adjourn.
Okay, Joanne?
Next,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright.
We are adjourned.